Are you living with purpose, passion, and making a difference in your life's journey? Well, you've come to the right place. The X Factors to Success podcast radio show. Great day to you all. Welcome to the X Factors to Success podcast radio show. I am your host, Ruggiero Fratacangeli, also known as the G-Man. And today's episode is a special guest. And this guest we have today is an author, a speaker, and his book, Going Your Way, is a story of his life, how he escaped the grips of anxiety and depression and dealt with the loss of his brother to suicide, but more importantly, how he eventually, through trial and error and some failures, transformed his life, and how you can too, upscore. But Jim's current projects involve developing his own podcast, online course, and his passion is speaking about how anyone can transform their lives and start getting the results they desire by making minor changes. Small course corrections, or as Jim likes to say, 1 degree of difference. He is married and he has 2 beautiful young adults and is focused on helping others on their journey through life and helping them realize their dreams, life's purpose, and passion. Without further ado, my friend, your friend, and the world's friend. This man is fantastic. I've known him now for quite a while. Please welcome Jim Goldfuss. Jim, welcome to the X Factors to Success.
Oh, that was awesome, G. I couldn't have said that better myself.
I have to say, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to come to our X Factors to Success podcast radio show. You are dear and to my heart because I gotta say you are making a great example to the world in sharing your life's journey and your experience. So I'd love to take this opportunity, this next half hour, for us to have a conversation and have you share your experiences to our audience here, and maybe we can inspire someone out there in the world that can hear and listen to and can resonate from your story, Jim.
Absolutely. No, I'm thrilled to be here, and thank you for having me as your guest.
Awesome. Well, for those of you out there, Jim and I also belong to a law of attraction group. That's how we met, right, Jim?
Absolutely. Yes, we did.
And
I couldn't believe that. And we have a few other connections, too, we didn't know about.
What was that there also? That's the Toastmasters?
Yeah, the Toastmasters thing.
For those of you who do that. And many people out there might not know what Toastmasters is all about, but it's a speakers organization, right?
Yep.
And we happen to be one of a separate club actually here on Long Island, New York. And we happened to meet in another event, and like, you belong to Toastmasters? Hey, Jim, is that you? Awesome.
Yeah, so, how many meetings did we sit back to back or at the same table and never realized it?
It's amazing. It's amazing. Again, 6 degrees of separation, as we say. But here we are now on the show. So, Jim, I know, again, I thank you for your time, for coming on the show here. And I'm going to just go straight through a couple of questions here because I want the audience to know all your experience. And Jim, how could you define the success? I mean, you've gone through some trials and tribulations. I share your bio out there, and you've gone through some interesting times here. How would you describe yourself, actually? How would you...
Success is a funny thing. I know early on, it was always something I was reaching for, but was never able to get, and it was accentuating my failures. Now, in my wiser state, as I've gotten older and I've come to realize things, you know what? It's just being a little better each and every day. Each day when I wake up, I just want to be a little better, a little farther on my journey, if you will, than I was yesterday. And it's just that constant drive, doing different things, speaking with different people. And again, for me, just making myself a little bit better each day. You know, and that's, for me, that's what success is for me.
Super. I know, Jim, that you're motivated. You've been motivated, and I've been to many of your speaking engagements here in the New York metropolitan area. And tell the guests what motivates you.
You know, it's funny. Originally, my motivation, when I realized what I was dealing with the anxiety and depression, my motivation was just getting knowledge and learning about why I did the things I did, why I thought and behaved the way I did. But as time went on, like for now, my motivation is actually sharing that message, but having other people coming to me and saying, wow, I thought I was the only one that felt that way. Thank you for sharing. And giving a voice to people that, you know, couldn't find their own. And for me, that's been a tremendous motivator for me, being able to, share my voice that resonates with other people and gets them to take the steps that they need to take to turn their lives around or get out of the darkness. That's how I always referred to it as, and just getting them to
get out of the darkness.
Yeah.
And I know you use an expression every time anyone says, "How are you?" What do they call you, Jim?
Oh, every time they ask me, I'm outstanding. Outstanding.
I use a similar expression, and people say, "How are you doing?" I say, "Better than great."
Yep, absolutely. And it's funny. I learned that one originally from Tony Robbins, from listening to his things, and he started going through the different levels of success.
Sure.
He basically explained the difference between excellent results and outstanding results is so small. It's that little extra effort. And I took that on as my mantra, and I would sit there, and originally it would just boost me up. I would say it, and it would just fill me with excitement, and I'd be like, yeah. Uh-huh. But as I walked around and people would ask me and I would say it, I would watch people like stop in their tracks and be like, shake their head, and they'd be like, outstanding. And they're like, wow, that's really cool. And it would take them sort of out of their
comfort
zone. Cycle, right? But it would break them from their thought patterns they were in, because you'd see a lot of people walking around the place where their heads would be down. Maybe they're not that happy, or they're caught up with other thoughts that aren't so pleasant. And when they hear that, it snaps them out of it for a second. And they're like, wow. And if I can do just that little thing to snap them out of that cycle and just bring a smile to their face, how cool is that?
I love it, Jim. Bring a smile. And I know that you're energized. You're energized every day in whatever you do every day to inspire, to empower people. And again, the passion that you have. And talking about Tony Robbins, and I know he talks about taking action, and you've taken lots of action. What would you say are your top 2 or top 3 role models that have influenced you, that took into a whole new trajectory into your success at this point in time?
It's funny. I heard somebody saying, I love the phrase, success isn't singular. There's no one person. There's no one thing. It's accumulation of other things. And when I think back to it, I mean, sure, there were people like Bob Proctor, Tony Robbins that did it. But for me, the people that set up my success, without exaggerating, were my family, because they gave me the environment to be able to explore where I was, figure out all the answers, work through the hard times, and they stayed by my side the whole time in that journey. And it gave me the courage to take those steps to explore. When I started getting down, they were the ones that gave me the little kick in the tail and, pointing out the progress that I was making, and helped me get that momentum to carry through to where I am today. So, it's, between my wife and my kids and the support, that's really my foundation that, my success has come from.
Jim, it resonates to my platform on the X Factors to Success. There's 5 pillars, and I know you know some of my speaking engagements also. Faith is number 1. Number 2, family and friends. Fitness, finance, and fun. I take all those key foundation, the key pillars, and how that affects the success factor, whatever success means to you. And I know, Jim, you've turned around quite a bit, and you have also brought yourself to a whole new level of inspiring other people. I'm sure there's been mistakes, or I hate to use the word failures, but the challenges that you had.
Sure.
What failures or challenges have you had you could share with the audience, if there were any, up to this point here?
Oh, I've fallen more times than I can count, and you know what? You learn to get back up. And for me, initially, when I finally, like I say, it was a weird way that it all came out, that I realized I was dealing with depression at the time, because I had no clue. I just thought that was how life was, and it was a pretty dismal place. And originally, I started I was craving information. I was taking in all the information I could find from books. Again, I say Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield, Bob Proctor, all of them. And I was putting it upstairs in my head. Yeah. But I wasn't taking action on any of them. That was my biggest mistake. That was the biggest holdback I had initially, because I was thrilled with what I was learning. And I was sitting there and I was having breakthrough after breakthrough with oh, that's why I act that way. That's why I do that. Oh, this is what I have to do to change. Yep. But I would never take that step and do the action, because I was fearful. I was uncomfortable. They would give you homework at night, And I would do the questions that were easy, but I wouldn't tackle the hard ones. They would say, write this down. I'd keep it in my head because if I didn't have a written record, and those were the things. I didn't truly commit. I didn't put to action the things I was learning. And that really stymied my growth. And, my biggest aha moments came when I started taking those steps.
You've taken some steps. Can you share with us your steps on the fire walk with Tony Robbins? I love that story. And briefly, if you don't mind sharing with the audience.
No, not at all. It was, like I said, I had hit rock bottom. There was no way to go at that point but up, like I say. So I started again getting back into all the courses and classes.
Sure.
And for me, at that time, Tony Robbins just resonated with me. It's no one over the other. A lot of them speak generally similar topics, but he resonated with me. So I decided it was time for me to go to one of his Unleash the Power Within seminars, UPW. And they had one in San Jose, so I brought my son along with me. And of course, at the end of the first night, you've been at this seminar. Starts at 8:00 in the morning. You go out into the middle of the city of San Jose at 11 o'clock at night. You're exhausted, you're tired, and you're walking around with 6,000 other people through the city of San Jose, which is where they held it.
Beautiful city, by the way. I've been there.
Yeah, beautiful city. Yeah. Nice and quiet, and beautiful. It's clean. I loved it. I had a great time. So remember, me and my son were walking through the city. Everybody's chanting, yes, 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 and getting you pumped and excited and ready to go. And it's funny, and it's I equate it to like a bunch of lemmings. I don't mean this, but it's like we're all walking around. We're all gonna walk across fire, woohoo! And it's so easy to be brave when there are people in front of you, including your son.
Sure.
But I remember, 1 minute there was a wall of people in front of me. The next minute I'm standing in front of this path of fire, and they've been stoking the coals all day. They lay them out in the path, maybe 10, 15 feet long, and it's flames. It's glowing red, white, blue. It's and the radiant heat from it is stunning. I mean, that's what.
And you're like, you want to get in there real fast, right?
Right. I was okay until I watched my son step first. He went first. He said he wanted to get it over with. I didn't argue, and when he took that step, and I watched his feet disappear into the burning embers. I mean, he stepped on a flame, and they just wrapped around his foot like it was slush. And I just freaked. I had thought up until that point this was all mind over matter, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get burned. I'm gonna get hurt. Nothing ever works for me. And the people were standing next to me like, you got this. Yes, yes, yes. You've been ready for this all day long. And I'm like, I'm not ready. I'm not in a state. I'm not ready. And they say, go. So I went.
And
I just stared at the hotel windows that were in front of me.
Sure.
And I was walking, and they walked side by side, and then they grabbed me and they stop. And I'm like, what am I, a fire? And I was starting to worry that something was wrong, and they were rinsing off my feet. I had finished the walk, and they were rinsing off the feet to make sure there were no hot embers like in between my toes that would burn me. I had walked the 15 feet, and I didn't even feel a sensation of heat.
Amazing, Jim.
It was me and my son looked at each other like, and that's possible how? And it wasn't until the next day that, it all started to come together, and you realize that it's not mind over matter. Anybody could do it. There is a scientific reason why it's possible. Anybody can do it. But fear prevents us from doing all the things that we're capable of doing. And that was the whole point of the firewalk.
And fear, the acronym stands for false evidence appearing real.
Appearing real.
Or else, what else do you say?
Expletive, everything, and run.
Bleep, a little bleep.
Yeah. Or we can do freak everything and run.
Jim, that's a great story. And I have not gone to Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power, and I've been wanted to. And I want to experience that myself. So thank you for sharing with that. Now, by taking action and having a breakthrough, what habits and behaviors have you learned after that gave you now more of momentum to achieve your success?
Taking that firewalk and actually taking that step really imprinted on me how much I was letting anxiety hold me back from doing the things that I could do. And the lesson was there. It still took some time for me to learn to take the actions, but that started building on me, just taking that step. You sit there, and I would come across things that created anxiety in me, and I would just take that first step into it, and just settle into it, and I would learn to, okay, this isn't that bad. I'm okay, and I learned to step forward, not to back away, not to turn around and say, no, I can't do that. That never works for me, or oh my God, I could never do that. I learned to turn it around. I can do this, and take the step, and I've learned to step through it, to expand my comfort zone. Because, for me, I always talked about the comfort zone as like, it's a place where you can hang out and everything's good.
Comfy, right?
Nah, the comfort zone's a prison.
Right.
It's where dreams go to die, man. It's a place, I think, where all of us hide, where we feel secure, but it's actually anxiety and everything else under the guise of safety. Life happens at the edge of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Progress happens there.
That's the breakthrough.
Exactly. Yeah. And the firewalk got me keyed in on that. That, when you hit that, fear is normal. We all have it. When you do something new, you're going to have fear. But don't let it stop you. Use it as information, but still step through and still go for those things.
That's fantastic, Jim. Appreciate that. Jim, I know that you just also released some months ago your book, and I have a copy of it. Also, a very special signed copy as well. And it's titled "Going Your Way: Your Life, Your Terms, Going Your Way." Jim, I've been the book, and there's on page 58. You use an acronym FREE, free. Can you share with us what that acronym? Give us a little brief overview, general overview on free your life, right. Free. Tell us about it.
Absolutely, it was ultimately for me. I wanted a word that depicted what it felt like when you reach success, if you will, or making those breakthroughs. It's like breaking free. When I learned to step through my fear, it was like freedom. It was like, oh my God. So I wanted a simple word that people could remember on how to make those changes. And basically, free stands for foundation. It stands for releasing the past. It stands for, sorry, I'm getting a little choked up here.
Okay.
E is engaging your emotions, getting involved in what you want. And then the last E is execute. Now, the foundation, the first part, is really important, because before you can set goals, you got to know where you are. You got to know, this is what I'm getting right now. These are the results. These are the things that are happening. These are the things that are not happening. And the key with the foundation for me was that you don't judge it. It is what I usually hate the term, but it's so appropriate here. It is what it is. Don't get caught up in, oh, well, this is because and this happened and that happened. No, this is what I'm getting. Release the past. The past doesn't serve you. It does you no good. Learn from it, but move on. Learn the lesson, but leave the lecture, and just let it go. And then the E is get your emotions involved. It's one thing to think about what you want and have those goals in your head, but if you don't have a passion for it, the thoughts, the intellect will get you to start, but the emotion is what carries you through the hurdles and over the obstacles. The emotion is what gets that desire on the inside that says, I want this, and I'll go around the obstacles. I'll figure out a way.
Absolutely.
But the last part is the most important, and it's the one I've been telling you, I think, all evening, is engage, is take action. It's, you've done all this preparation here. Okay, this is where I am. I've let go of the past. I know what I want. I'm psyched. I'm ready. Take the step. So many of us will do that part. We'll plan for that trip to California, but we'll never leave the driveway. And
it's amazing, Jim, how many of us have these dreams and visions, right? But we don't take the step because there's lack of belief. There's limited beliefs that we have in there. And one of the things that I teach in the success principles through Jack Canfield, as you know, is taking 100% responsibility for your life and results. And, and that formula there is E plus R equals O. Events plus response equals your outcomes. And we blame. You said it before. We tend to blame the weather. We tend to blame the traffic. We tend to blame politics, the boss, the job. But eventually, it's how we respond to those events that always equal the outcome. And then we have to take action, different action, right? Our thought process, our visual imagery, and our behavior is all based upon our limited beliefs.
Yeah.
But we have a positive trajectory of like, okay, I could change that. And you took the step. You walked through the fire. Call of fire, 15 feet. You accomplished that goal, and like, oh, okay. It's amazing. And that just took you to the next level. I love that. I love free. FREE. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. That's awesome. And those of you who are listening, ladies and gentlemen, take that into consideration. Jot some notes. Stop where you are. If you're in a car, stop. Put it down. Jot the notes. Put it on your iPad, your iPhone, or and wherever you are. If you're working out in the gym, make it happen. Make it happen. So, Jim, people will say you're lucky, Jim. You're lucky, Jim. And do you think people are just lucky in success?
I used to think that, and as I've gone, it depends how you want to say it. I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in coincidence anymore. I used to.
Yes.
And when I believed in those, I wasn't getting the results I was looking for because it excused the things that I did well. Luck is a way of excusing skill or making it an excuse for it.
I like that.
And so no, I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in coincidence. As I've learned, I've gotten to know you, the law of attraction with, Helen and everybody else, that I've interacted with.
Oh, by the way, Jim,
yes,
we're going to have Helen on the show as well, too.
Awesome. That's going to be a great interview. Oh, that's going to be fantastic. Oh, absolutely. But, I've learned, I've come so far in learning things that I used to think was, that's fluff. That works for other people, but that would never work for me. I've learned, what? It works for everybody. And it isn't luck. It's planning, it's execution, and it's just putting a plan in action. And when you see it through, things just happen. You meet people, the resources come. Going back to what we were talking about before, and only because I heard this on another podcast on my way home today, which is hysterical. It's not a lack of resources, it's a lack of resourcefulness.
Resourcefulness.
That
I use
creates
that word
our
all the time.
problems.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's all out there, Jim, right? It's all out there for us for the taking. But
right,
again,
it's just letting go,
back,
right?
Yeah, it goes back to the limited beliefs. I can't. No, you can. Right. You got to shift that whole mindset, shift the whole pattern, shift the paradigm, right?
Like Yoda from Star Wars says, do or do not, there is no try.
I have it right here in front of me.
I love that
I was about to ask you about that. I know you love
I do.
Star Wars. Do or do not, there is no try.
Right, exactly. And it's all about attitude. You can make a decision when something comes up. I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it. Both are commitments. And if you say you're not going to do it, that's fine. You can come back to it later, but you've made a decision. And so you're not going to use it as a distraction to, well, maybe I could. Maybe I will. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to move on. When you decide to do something, there's a commitment there. There's an energy. There's a passion. There's a mindset. Once you decide, your mind goes into a mode that makes things happen, that makes things reveal. If you go in with the aspect of I'll try, you've already decided. Your mind already has it set up that failure is an option. And the minute you hit that first hurdle, the minute you come across that barrier or that challenge, instead of looking for a way around it or through it, you're going to take that as, I knew I couldn't do this, and you'll go right back to where you started and give right up. So there's so much more to that quote than just, little green guy on Star Wars saying something. There's so much meaning to that.
By the way, I have that framed up in my studio here, so we share the same passion. So, Jim, the fact that you have a book out there, and I know you're working on other things as well. Can you share with us any specific goals for 2018? I know it's the beginning of the year, but did you have any specific goals you want to share with the audience?
I do, and actually I was inspired by you and this podcast today, and following your lead, and I've decided that on May 9th of this year,
Super.
I am launching my own podcast. That's called 1 Degree of Difference.
I applaud you. I applaud you.
And it'll be covering what you said in the intro, that you don't have to blow up your world or create chaos or completely turn things around to change your life. It takes a minor change, a small course correction, or 1 degree of difference from what you're doing right now to completely transform your life.
And Jim, to that matter there, I had this goal back in 2017, April 7th on 2017. I put down on my workbook, attending Jack Canfield's Breakthrough to Success, that my breakthrough goal was to launch off my podcast radio show to the world, to inspire, to empower, to energize others, and to bring inspiring people to share to the world. And that's our purpose. And here we are today, and it has come to fruition, even a few months earlier, before the 2018 at 5 p.m. So your date, you have it there. I'm sure you have it written down in stone, right?
Of course.
And
of course.
And we look forward to hear your show as well. So again, we're supporting each other, but we're making a difference. Our purpose is to inspire out there and to really bring people in awareness level, because we're so busy every day. Social media, the news, and so on and so forth. There's lots of negative things around us that keeps on infiltrating into our thoughts. And subconsciously, what happens, Jim? It becomes like we embrace him, like a zombie, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we need clarity. And clarity is important, and clarity of purpose and inspiring purpose also.
And I mean, to use you as an example, you're a perfect example of this. When you decided that you were going to create a podcast, I'm sure at that point you had no idea how to do that. You didn't know what kind of equipment should I have. What am I going to talk about? How am I going to get guests to last for years and years? But you figured it out as you went.
Because I was resourceful.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
So
Take the step.
Took a course online. I studied many other podcasters, look at equipment, shopping, many hours over, and finally put together. It was a plan of action. So plan to work the plan, right? So again,
exactly.
And there's more to come here. So Jim, that's awesome. I'm looking forward for your show as well. Jim,
thank you.
What book or books would you has influenced you or motivated you that you could share with the audience today?
You know, most recent,
or one or two, whatever you think.
There's one that stands out right now, which is funny. It's I saw a TED Talk by a lady named Mel Robbins. I don't believe she's related to Tony Robbins, but she's the most booked female speaker in the world.
Yes, she is.
And she has this rule. She did a TED Talk, and in the TED Talk, she revealed this rule called the 5-second rule. So I had heard about this. I got a book by the same name. The book came later. I learned about the rule, and basically it was like when you come across something that you feel that inspiration on the inside that you want to do, you have about 5 seconds before your brain and logic will take over and talk you out of it and tell you, you can't do that. It doesn't make sense or whatever.
But you have to count backwards, though. See, that's the key thing.
Yep, exactly. Count 5. Of course, if you count forward, you can just keep counting.
Mm-hmm.
You count backwards is like, the space shuttle getting ready to lift off. And when you hit
that
zero,
was what inspired her. Because she was at traveling at a hotel, and then she got one morning and she saw the rocket launch, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom, get up and going. How many times how many times we pressed the snooze button?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, exactly. No. And I embraced that. And I had so many results from that. It was funny. I was texting her. I would sit there, I was messaging, and she was messaging me back. She's like, "Can I use that story in my book?" And that was so unlike me. It was like, I'm like, she'd never answer. She doesn't want to hear from little old me, but I was like,
tell the audience that story.
She was using my stories in her book, and it was amazing. It's like, wow, look who I'm talking to, and I'm in her book. So I bought the book, and the book covered so many other avenues that you can use it for. And of course, every so often you go through the book, and there's my story.
Isn't it wonderful?
I was on the back. Oh, it was great.
That's awesome.
And again, just another example of never take no for a reason. Don't say you're not good enough. Don't say you can't. Take the step, because you never know.
Yeah. Jim, we have a few more questions. We're going to wrap this show up here. I know, again, I appreciate all your time and efforts and your enthusiasm. Sure. I got to tell you, awesome, Jimmy. Jim,
absolutely.
What are you most grateful for in life lately?
There's just so much right now. And, I look at where I am now, the people that I have around me, my friends, yourself, everything that's come just from learning how to deal with the things, changing my patterns of behavior. I mean, it comes back to family. I'm so grateful that every day I can come home to a beautiful home, with a wife who loves me. I have fantastic kids I could never say enough about, who have supported me through this journey. I'm looking at you across my computer screen here, the friends that I have that helped me along the way. And I'm just so grateful that people and resources have given me the opportunity to appreciate that, instead of being caught in the darkness, like I say, where I guess this is how life is and it isn't any better, to be able to appreciate everything and see how much control that I have over the things that happen to me, but the people who have accompanied me on my journey. Just so it goes out to so many people that it's,
Awesome. I'm looking forward to greater greater stories and get you back on the podcast show in the future as well. So I'm going to wrap up with a couple one more questions, Jim. Jim, if you were conducting this interview, what question would you ask yourself?
It's funny. I've been asked that before, and you used to come out, hey Jim, what took you so long to finally get it? But we've sort of touched on that. But I mean, the other one is, and the one that's come up for me, and I would ask, is the thing and I'm sure you've heard of it. It's called imposter syndrome, and it's. You have, like for me, I'm a coach, I'm a life coach now. I help other people and I'm a speaker. And when I started doing that, when I'd go to Toastmasters and I'd speak in front of the small group and I was like, I want to speak in front of a larger audience. You reach that point where you start saying, well, who am I to speak to a larger group? Who's going to want to listen to me? I mean, I'm no Tony Robbins. I'm.
But you're Jim Goldfuss, though. You are the man.
Exactly. Right. But you feel like you're an imposter, like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not smart. I'm not like them. Yeah, you are. And, for me, working through that, you learn that, what, my message won't resonate with everybody. But my gift, my communication, my speaking with others will resonate with exactly the people I need to be speaking with that I can help. And and that's stepping through that imposter syndrome. It's having the belief in yourself that this is your gift, and who are you not to share it? And if imposter syndrome was real, guess what? There would only be one motivational speaker in the world.
And there's many, many out there in all different shapes and forms. Yeah,
exactly.
Different language. So, Jim, what legacy or imprint to the world would you leave behind? Let's say it's 100 years from now. What would you say?
Right now.
What would you tell?
Yeah.
What would you tell the world out there?
You know what? I really struggled with that. I've that question's come up, and it's funny. I haven't really started thinking about that until recently. And for me, a lot of what I had when I look back, with the anxiety and depression, I look back, I can trace it back through the family lines. And I made a commitment when my brother passed that it was ending in my generation. And my legacy is to, again, make it to where my kids don't carry this forward, which they're well on their way to being through that. But also to provide all this information and speak to people that, people start to understand that, like Thomas Edison. Yeah, I think it was Thomas Edison. If we all did the things that we're all perfectly capable of doing, we'd literally astonish ourselves and get people to realize that, take those steps. Don't be meek and meager. You're capable of far more than you'd ever dream of being possible. Take those steps, do those things. And if I can share and they can be saved in video and audio and podcasts like this so that people will see it and watch it and take that message and carry it forward. That's really what I want to leave behind.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, Jim, you've been an awesome guest on the show. I can't super thank you any much more longer than what you're giving to today. Would you any last comments or inspired encouragements before we close and say farewell into our next encounter to the audience?
Just for everybody listening, I mean, like we've talked about, I mean, the biggest thing is you got to take action. You don't be afraid. Don't hold yourself back. Believe in you and take those actions, and surround yourself with people that support you, that encourage you, that lift you up. I mean, that's why I have you as a friend, and Helen and all my other friends. They all believe in me. And, when I talk about what I want to do, instead of getting the, oh, no, you can't do that, or, oh, that'll never, why are you going to do that? You have a family to think of. They encourage you to take that step. Surround yourself with people that energize you.
OPP,
yep.
Only positive people, right?
That's
right.
Right.
What did Jim Rohn used to always say? We become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with.
Yep.
And
absolutely,
who we surround ourselves is a reflection upon how we gravitate and how we attract those individuals, right, Jim?
It's so true.
Yeah.
It is so true.
Well, Jim, I want to thank you very, very much for being on the show on the X Factors to Success. And folks out there, let's not forget, be free, FREE, foundation, release, engage in motion, and execute and take action. From Jim Goldfuss here. And Jim, where can the audience find you? Can you tell us where can we find you on the internet, on social media? Please tell us.
Yeah, I have a website at jimgoldfuss.com, Goldfuss. Probably the most common place people reach me is on my Facebook page, though, Jim R. Goldfuss. So again, Goldfuss. I am actually probably going to be starting another Facebook group when my podcast kicks off, 1 Degree of Difference. But for right now, if you go to just friend me at jimrgoldfuss.com and follow me, and that's the easiest place to find me. I'm sort of mitigating everything over to there moving forward. So
awesome. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, we'll be putting the show notes under this podcast here, so you can be able to click on it and get Jim here. He's a fantastic guy. If you're in town in the New York area, email him, text him, just find a way to get in touch with him, because he's a phenomenal man. He could share more insight. And again, our show here has a limited, but yet he gave us the golden nuggets. Hopefully he inspired you. He made you think about things that you were thinking about. And I know we're into the early part of the year of 2018, and the fact that we can engage, we can really create that execution of taking action. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, you are here at the X Factors to Success podcast radio show, where we inspire and energize others to identify the potential to achieve their dreams and passions, find inner joy and peace in their life's journey. So thank you very much for all you listeners out there. Check us out also at xfactors2success.com, Facebook page, Instagram, and Twitter. Please come back here on our next show. We will have another special guest. I won't spill the beans yet, but there is a special guest coming on as well. We thank you very, very much for all you listeners. Until next time, live with purpose, passion, and make a difference every day. Ciao.